Listen, I'm about to reveal something about certain women that will save you years of suffering. Something that explains why after talking to them you feel exhausted, guilty, worthless, like someone sucked the life force right out of your body. And before you think I'm being dramatic, understand that what I'm describing is as real as any physical assault, except instead of bruises on your skin, you get wounds in your soul that take much longer to heal. There's a type of woman walking around who looks normal, might even be beautiful, successful, charming, but she's actually a vampire. Not the Hollywood type with fangs and capes, but something far more dangerous because you won't see her coming until she's already drained you dry. You know that feeling when you've just spent time with a woman and afterwards you need to lie down, you have a headache, maybe your stomach hurts, you feel this strange nausea that has nothing to do with what you ate? Or maybe you feel guilty about something but you can't quite figure out what you did wrong. You just know that somehow you're the bad guy even though you were trying to help, trying to be supportive, trying to be a good man. Brothers, you've just been fed on by an energy vampire and these creatures are everywhere, hunting for their next victim, their next source of emotional food. I discovered this pattern through the most painful education possible. Dating them, living with them, trying to save them, trying to love them into wholeness. There was this period in my life where I kept attracting the same type of woman over and over, different faces but the same energy, the same patterns, the same devastating effect on my life force. At first I thought I was just unlucky, then I thought maybe I was doing something wrong, but finally I realised I was being hunted by predators who could smell my empathy like blood in the water. Time and again, I watched men get destroyed by these women because nobody taught us to recognise the signs. Nobody warned us that some people don't generate their own emotional energy but instead steal it from others. We're taught to be providers, protectors, to be strong for women, but nobody tells us that some women will use that programming against us, will exploit our desire to help and heal until we're empty shells wondering what the hell happened to our lives. You see, yes, a vampire woman doesn't feed on blood. She feeds on your emotions, your attention, your guilt, your sympathy, your life force itself. Instead of creating her own happiness through interesting work, meaningful relationships, personal growth, she's learned it's easier to just drain it from men who still have some spark left. And the scariest part? She often doesn't even know she's doing it. It's so automatic, so ingrained in her personality, that she thinks this is just how relationships work. Let me break down the signs so clear you'll never miss them again. First sign, after talking to her, you suddenly feel guilty, but you don't know why. She has this supernatural ability to make you feel responsible for her emotions, her problems, her entire life situation. You could have just met her 5 minutes ago, but somehow you already feel like you failed her, like you should be doing more, giving more, being more. This guilt induction is her primary feeding mechanism because guilty men give everything to absolve themselves of crimes they didn't commit. I remember this woman I dated, every conversation ended with me feeling like the worst person alive. If I couldn't see her because of work, I was choosing money over love. If I saw friends, I was abandoning her when she needed me. If I was tired and wanted to sleep, I was emotionally unavailable. No matter what I did or didn't do, I was always failing her in some cosmic way that required me to apologise and make amends with attention, gifts, sacrifice of my own needs. Second sign, she's always the victim, always has a story about how someone did her wrong, how life is unfair to her, how she's suffering more than anyone else could possibly understand. But here's the twisted part. When you try to help, nothing works. You offer solutions, she has excuses. You provide support, it's never enough. You sacrifice to fix her problems, new problems immediately appear. Because she doesn't actually want solutions. She wants your emotional energy that comes from trying to save her. Many people experience this pattern where they become unofficial therapists to vampire women who dump their problems like toxic waste but never actually want to heal. She'll call you at midnight crying about her terrible boss, her mean friends, her dysfunctional family, and you'll lose sleep trying to comfort her. But next week it's the same stories, same tears, same drain on your energy. She's not looking for solutions, she's farming your sympathy like it's a renewable resource. Third sign, she's incredibly insincere, never lets you see her real self, always wearing masks and playing roles. She complains endlessly about her life, but it all feels performed, theatrical, designed to evoke specific responses from you rather than genuine expression of pain. You never really know her because she won't let you in. She just performs vulnerability to trigger your protector instincts, while keeping her real self completely hidden. It happens more often than people realise that these women have practiced their victim performance so long, they've forgotten who they really are beneath the masks. They've played the wounded bird so convincingly that they believe their own performance. But if you watch carefully, you'll notice the inconsistencies, the moments where the mask slips and you see calculation where there should be genuine emotion. Fourth sign, she uses your sincerity against you. Early in the relationship, she's incredibly interested in your past, your fears, your insecurities, your dreams, and you think, finally, someone who really wants to know me. But later she weaponizes everything you shared. That childhood trauma you mentioned, she brings it up during arguments to destabilize you. That insecurity you confessed, she pokes at it when she wants to control you. That dream you shared, she mocks it when she wants to hurt you. I've observed this pattern repeatedly where vampire women gather intelligence disguised as intimacy. They're not connecting with you, they're mapping your weaknesses, cataloguing your buttons, preparing for future manipulation. Every vulnerable moment you share becomes ammunition in their arsenal. Every confession becomes a future weapon. Fifth sign, she's never wrong, never apologizes, never takes responsibility for anything. In her world, she's always right and everyone else, especially you, is always wrong. If something goes badly, it's your fault, circumstances' fault, her mother's fault, society's fault, but never, ever her fault. This isn't just narcissism, though that's often part of it. It's a fundamental inability to generate energy from growth and learning, so she has to steal it from making others feel bad about themselves. Now let's classify these vampires because they come in different flavors of destruction. First type, the narcissist vampire. This is the woman who genuinely believes the universe revolves around her, that everyone else exists to serve her needs, validate her existence, worship her presence. She doesn't just think she's special, she thinks she's the only real person, and everyone else is a supporting character in her movie. You see, yes, the narcissist vampire doesn't even see you as human. You're just a source of narcissistic supply, a mirror to reflect her grandiosity, a prop in her performance. She'll drain you not through sympathy, but through demanding constant admiration, attention, validation. You'll exhaust yourself trying to make her see your worth, but she can't see anything beyond her own reflection. I knew this woman, absolutely beautiful, seemed to have everything together. But every conversation was about her achievements, her problems, her feelings, her needs. If I tried to share something about my life, she'd either ignore it or immediately relate it back to herself. You had a hard day? Let me tell you about my hard day. Your mother is sick. That reminds me of when I was sick. You don't exist except as an audience for her endless monologue. Second type, the victim vampire, the professional damsel in distress. This woman has made suffering her entire identity. She doesn't just have problems, she is problems. Every day brings new disasters that require your immediate intervention, your emotional support, your financial help, your complete attention. But no matter how much you give, how much you sacrifice, she never gets better because getting better would mean giving up her food source. Time and again, I see men destroying themselves trying to save victim vampires who don't want to be saved. You pay off her debts, she creates new ones. You solve her work problems, she creates drama at the new job. You heal her from one toxic relationship, she immediately finds another abuser. Because chaos and crisis are how she harvests energy from well-meaning men who can't resist a woman in distress. Third type, the controller vampire. This woman feeds on power, on making you smaller so she feels bigger. She criticizes everything you do, questions every decision, undermines every achievement. Nothing is ever good enough, right enough, smart enough. She positions herself as the authority on how you should live your life, what you should want, who you should be, and she feeds on the energy you waste trying to meet her impossible standards. The controller vampire is particularly dangerous because she often comes disguised as someone trying to help you improve. I'm only saying this because I care. I just want what's best for you. If you really loved me, you'd want to be better. But it's not about your improvement, it's about keeping you in a constant state of inadequacy where you're always trying to earn approval that never comes. Fourth type, the critic vampire. This woman feeds on negativity, on finding fault with everything and everyone. She doesn't just see the glass as half empty, she sees it as dirty, cracked, filled with poison, and it's your fault. Every restaurant you choose is wrong, every gift you give is inadequate, Every gesture you make is insufficient. She generates energy not through joy, but through the power of making others feel bad about their choices. Many people experience the soul-crushing effect of dating a critic vampire who slowly erodes your confidence until you can't make any decision without anxiety. You become paralyzed, second-guessing everything because you know whatever you do will be wrong. She's trained you to expect criticism so thoroughly that you start criticizing yourself before she even opens her mouth. Fifth type, the manipulator vampire. This is perhaps the most sophisticated predator because she operates through subtle psychological warfare. She doesn't directly attack. She manipulates reality until you don't trust your own perceptions. She gaslights you into questioning your memory, your judgment, your sanity. She creates situations where you're always the bad guy, where you're always apologizing, where you're always trying to make up for something you're not even sure you did. The manipulator vampire is a master of emotional aikido, using your own strength against you. Your desire to be good becomes a weapon to make you feel bad. Your need for harmony becomes a tool for creating chaos. Your love becomes the very thing that enslaves you to her emotional terrorism. But here's what really makes these vampires dangerous. They often combine types. You might encounter a narcissist victim vampire who believes the universe owes her everything because she's suffered so uniquely, or a controller manipulator vampire who gaslights you while criticizing everything you do. These hybrid vampires are like emotional black holes, sucking in all light and giving nothing back. You want to know how to protect yourself from these creatures? First, learn to recognize the early warning signs. Trust your body. If you consistently feel drained, anxious, guilty, or sick after interacting with a woman, that's your survival instinct trying to warn you. Don't override it with rationalization about how she needs you or how you can help her. You can't help a vampire stop being a vampire by offering your neck. Second, establish iron boundaries. The word no is vampire repellent. No, I can't talk about your problems right now. No, I won't accept responsibility for your emotions. No, I don't agree with your version of events. Every no you say reclaims a piece of your energy, builds a wall between you and the drain. Yes, she'll escalate, she'll guilt trip, she'll rage, but that's just the vampire shrieking because she can't feed. It happens more often than people realize that men stay with vampire women out of misguided loyalty or savior complex. You think if you just love her enough, support her enough, sacrifice enough, she'll finally be filled and become the woman you thought she was. But you're trying to fill a bucket with no bottom. The more you give, the more she needs, because she's not broken. She's a broken system that converts your energy into her sustenance. Third protection, limit contact. Once you've identified a vampire, don't try to reform her. Don't try to understand her. Don't try to be friends. Every interaction is feeding time for her. Every text, every call, every meeting is an opportunity for her to sink her fangs into your emotional jugular. The only winning move is not to play. But what if you suddenly realize you're in a relationship with a vampire, maybe even married to one? This is where things get complex because extraction requires careful planning. You can't just announce you're leaving. That triggers what I call the vampire death spiral, where she'll use every manipulation, every guilt trigger, every weapon she's collected to keep you as her food source. You need to quietly rebuild your strength first. Reconnect with friends she isolated you from. Pursue interests she mocked or discouraged. Rebuild the confidence she eroded. Create financial independence if she's controlling money. Document her behavior if there are legal implications. Build your escape route before you reveal you're escaping. I've coached men through vampire extractions and it's like deprogramming from a cult. You have to slowly reclaim your reality, your sense of self, your right to exist without being someone's emotional food. It's painful, difficult, sometimes dangerous, but the alternative is spending your life as livestock for someone who sees you as nothing more than a resource to be consumed. You see, yes, the hardest part about vampire women is that they're often created by vampire mothers. Generation after generation of women who never learned to generate their own emotional energy, who only learned to take from others. The grandmother was a vampire, the mother is a vampire, and now the daughter continues the pattern thinking, this is normal, this is how relationships work, this is love. Many people experience the confusion of dating vampire women who genuinely believe they're loving partners. In their distorted reality, draining your energy is love. Making you responsible for their emotions is intimacy. Controlling and criticizing you is caring. They're so disconnected from healthy relationship dynamics that they interpret their vampirism as deep connection. But here's the brutal truth. Whether they know they're vampires or not doesn't matter. Conscious or unconscious, the effect on you is the same. Your energy is drained, your joy is extinguished, your life force is depleted. You can't save them with understanding. You can't heal them with compassion. You can't love them into wholeness. They have to want to change, and most don't because being a vampire works for them. The recovery after escaping a vampire woman is its own journey. You'll feel guilty for leaving, even though she was destroying you. You'll miss the intensity, even though it was toxic. You'll doubt your decision, even though you know it was right. This is normal. This is the vampire's venom still in your system, the psychological conditioning still running its program. Time and again, I watch men emerge from vampire relationships like they're walking out of a dark cave into sunlight. They're disoriented at first. Everything seems too bright, too easy, too peaceful. They keep waiting for the criticism, the guilt, the drama, but it doesn't come. Slowly they remember what it feels like to have energy, to have joy, to have peace. They remember who they were before the vampire started feeding. The key to recovery is understanding that you were targeted because of your best qualities, your empathy, your desire to help, your capacity for love. These aren't weaknesses to be eliminated, but strengths to be protected. The lesson isn't to become cold and closed, but to become discerning about who deserves access to your emotional resources. It's common to notice that men who've survived vampire women become incredibly attractive to healthy women. Why? Because they've developed boundaries. They've learned to value their own energy. They've stopped trying to save everyone. They're no longer desperate to please, to fix, to sacrifice. They've learned that their emotional energy is precious and should only be shared with those who generate their own rather than steal from others. But here's the most important thing about vampire women. They're not evil, they're empty. They're not malicious, they're starving. They're not trying to destroy you, they're trying to survive the only way they know how. This doesn't make it okay. Doesn't mean you should sacrifice yourself to feed them, but understanding this helps you detach without hatred, leave without vengeance, protect yourself without becoming like them. The solution isn't to avoid all women or become paranoid about every interaction. It's to develop vampire detection skills, to trust your instincts, to maintain healthy boundaries, to value your own energy enough to protect it from those who would drain it. It's to seek out women who generate their own light rather than those who feed on yours. You want to know the ultimate test for whether a woman is a vampire? Look at her effect on others, not just you. Does she leave a trail of exhausted ex-boyfriends? Are her friendships full of drama and conflict? Does her family seem drained and defeated? Do people seem relieved when she leaves the room? Vampires don't just feed on romantic partners, they drain everyone around them. Also, look at how she handles good news, yours and others. A vampire woman can't genuinely celebrate others' success because it highlights her emptiness. She'll minimize your achievements, find problems with your good fortune, redirect attention to her struggles. You got promoted? Well, must be nice to have such an easy job. Your friend got married? That won't last. She can't generate happiness, so she has to destroy it in others. The workplace is full of vampire women who've learned to feed in professional settings. They create drama to get attention, play victim to avoid responsibility, manipulate to gain power without earning it. They're the ones always in the boss's office with personal problems, always needing special accommodations, always creating conflicts that require mediation. They've figured out how to monetize their vampirism, getting paid while draining everyone around them. But perhaps the most dangerous vampire is the one who's learned to mimic healthy behavior. She's read the self-help books, learned the therapy language, can perform emotional health convincingly. She talks about boundaries while violating yours, preaches self-care while demanding you sacrifice for her, claims to be working on herself while never actually changing. This sophisticated vampire is harder to detect, but the energy drain is the same. I want to be very clear about something. Not all women who struggle, who have problems, who need support are vampires. The difference is in the energy exchange. A healthy woman in crisis will receive help gratefully, use it to improve her situation, and reciprocate when she can. A vampire will take help as entitlement, create new crises to maintain the flow, and never ever reciprocate because she has nothing to give. The test is simple. Does interacting with her energize or exhaust you? Do you feel better or worse after spending time with her? Are you growing or shrinking in the relationship? Is your life expanding or contracting? Your body knows the truth even when your mind creates justifications. That persistent fatigue, that chronic anxiety, that constant guilt, that's your life force being drained drop by drop. Brothers, I'm telling you this because I've lost years of my life to vampire women. Years I can't get back. Energy I'll never recover. Pieces of my soul I had to rebuild from scratch. I've watched strong men reduced to shells, successful men driven to bankruptcy, healthy men made sick by these emotional parasites. You don't have to learn this lesson the hard way like I did. The path forward is clear. Develop your vampire detection skills, trust your instincts when they warn you, maintain boundaries that protect your energy, and seek out women who generate their own light. There are millions of healthy women who want partnership, not parasitism, who want to build, not destroy, who want to share energy, not steal it. Stop trying to save vampire women. You're not Van Helsing, you're not equipped for this fight, and more importantly, they don't want to be saved. They want to feed, and as long as you offer yourself as food, they'll consume you. Your empathy is not medicine for their emptiness. Your love is not cure for their hunger. Your sacrifice is not solution for their dysfunction. That is the truth about energy vampires. They're real, they're dangerous, and they're probably in your life right now. The question isn't whether you'll encounter them, but whether you'll recognize them in time. Whether you'll have the strength to deny them your energy. Whether you'll value yourself enough to walk away. Every man must make this choice. Be food for vampires or find a woman who brings her own light to the relationship. Choose wisely, your life force depends on it.